In Advanced Jazz Piano Book on page 14, there's a chapter on Moore on minor 251, and this picks up from the previous page where I was playing 251 in a minor key. And in 251 in a minor key, I was playing the guide tones. This is for A minor 7, and adding the flat 5 there. And also doing a voicing where I'd add natural 9. So I give a very few examples on page 14 of the minor 7 flat 5 chord with the natural 9 with the guide tones the other way around. So this time we've got the 3rd of D, 7th of D, because before it was that shape. So now it's this shape. You can see my hands are crossed because these voicings have been written in the bass clef for the left hand, and that's because that's what a pianist would play if they were accompanying themselves on a solo or a tune. So I'm just putting in some root notes with my right hand just to get a sense of the harmony. So on top of these notes we've got the flat 5 and the natural 9. And then the next chord is an altered chord, which has the 7th and the 3rd, the sharp 9 and the flat 13. It's a pretty scrunchy chord there, resolving to C minor 9 or C minor 6 9, which has a very definite sound, and that's a matter of taste which chord you choose. Also, you need to take into account the character of the piece of music you're playing. The next examples are rooted voicings, so just to give you a sense of how it would be if there was a root there. So this is the same chord but without the 9th. This is D minor 7 flat 5 or D half diminished. And then the next chord, it looks and it sounds like a diminished chord, and it is, but obviously if there was a bass it's going to be a G7 flat 9. So I've just played this particular voicing without the G, but you could put a G in if you wanted, and I've put that there, and then resolve down. So sometimes we don't have to put the roots in. In fact, there was no root in that G7 flat 9. It was the upper part of the chord, but it seems to sound okay. So if you were accompanying a tune or a solo on your own, you could be playing this and it would sound perfectly fine. The scales that fit this chord sequence are written below, and I've got an example of the natural minor scale here. And there's the 6th is in brackets because it's often played as a natural over the one chord. And playing with an A natural would be. Fit the chord of C minor. So if I just improvised a little bit, you can hear the difference. So that's with the natural 6th. I would just probably leave it out and playing more of a pentatonic scale, because the A flat is really doesn't make it sound very settled in C minor. D minor scale with a flat 5 and a flat 6. So this is how this scale sounds, and I've written really a neat altered starting on D, or F minor melodic ascending starting on D. And this fits a D half diminished chord. And then for the chord 5, we have an altered scale, and a lot of these ideas are further explored in my snippets, jazz snippets. So if you look on my website and click on jazz snippets, if you're a member of the Tippy Society, which is where you tip for various lessons, you can literally go on the site and just click on altered scale, but I'll just explain it here. So the G altered scale, which is also known as a half diminished because it starts like the diminished scale and ends up half whole tone. And it's also derived from the A flat melodic minor scale, but starting on the 7th degree. And the final scale on this page is a diminished scale starting with a half step, which is the usual thing when you're putting it on top of a dominant 7th chord. And that fits a chord of G7 with a flat 9. Those are just some ideas for the scales that would fit that minor 2-5-1, and that's the end of this particular lesson on that.